Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to WCS North American Challenger. We are getting ready to move into our second match from that round of 8, coming off the back of a crazy upset of the first match. My name is Fear Dragon. I am joined by Nathanius here at the desk.
What's up, man?
Are you excited for North America? I know you're a lover of North America StarCraft.
There's
like
nothing better than WCS America. And man, what a better way to start the day than to have my favorite player get knocked out. Thank God my second favorite player is playing right now.
Well, now you're going to get a message from puCK saying, I'm your second favorite player?
Well, puCK knows. puCK knows. puCK and I are friends, but if I'm fanboying someone, I'm not friends with Neeb because I want to keep him in that. You know what I mean? He's you idolize him from a distance. Idolize him from a distance. puCK and I have hung out too much. I can't say puCK's like my #1 player because I know him too well. You know what I mean?
I can dig that. I can dig that. Well, of course, since now we're talking about how Neeb has been knocked out by Silky. Holy cow! This is a single elimination bracket. There are no second chances anymore. Silky advanced on to the semifinals, and now he's going to be facing off versus the winner of this match, puCK versus JonSnow. Two American players, two considered the best in America, normally behind Neeb, but now this entire American side of the bracket has all been upset.
It's been completely blown open because Neeb absolutely tore through last season of Challenger, but we were like, Mana got second place at Austin, so him beating Neeb is not the craziest thing ever.
Yeah.
But now it's like, oh my God, everyone that has Neeb stocks is panicking, okay? It's terrifying. Who is going to win this? Is everyone just going to be upset? NA performed so poorly at Austin. I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, well, I'm ready for Zeal to beat Scarlet too, because that's probably a very weirdly realistic possibility now.
I mean, I feel like the best way to describe the situation now is that Silky clearly is playing really, really well today, so he could actually win Challenger. JonSnow and puCK both have it in them to beat or to win Challenger. Scarlet, of course, always has it in her. True and Masa have it in her, or him in them. And,
Masa finished second last season, so it's all.
And Zeal, I think he has the potential to beat someone like Scarlet. He does actually have the potential.
If Silky can beat Neeb, then I give Zeal a chance for Scarlet and everybody else on that side of the bracket. Because Zeal does the NA builds that no one else wants to do, or wants to see, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. And Scarlet, I think, she sometimes does struggle a little bit against the full NA Protosses. And she has actually, especially in the past, Zeal has been one of the people who has actually denied her from WCS Challenger qualifiers way back in the day in 2015. By the way, for those who don't know Zeal, we'll talk about him maybe a little bit later, but he is actually an old school Protoss player. From the 2015 era, he took off. He just stopped really playing StarCraft for about 2 years, and he came back in May, I believe, for the Base Trade TV offline finals, the BTSL finals that happened back in May. So I think he just kind of said, you know, I actually really still enjoy StarCraft. I'm still pretty good at this. And he just kept playing, and he qualified for Challenger.
Nice. Nice. Good Challenger stories we have today. puCK versus JonSnow should be a great match. puCK, great guy from North Dakota. JonSnow's a really good guy, too. He's nice.
He's a wonderful guy.
These players are both cheeky, mannered professionals, gentlemen, and trolls.
They're both a little bit of trolls, yeah.
Little bit trolls. But in the bottom left, we have our American Zerg player in the red. He is JonSnow. Storm Gaming. And those guys basically own half this bracket, don't they, here?
Yeah, they've been doing pretty well for themselves. But we have up here in the top right-hand corner of the map, the blue Protoss player from Root Gaming. It is puCK. Good old Brandon Qual. You know, it was actually really funny because I was watching a lot of puCK stream this past week, and I kept seeing actually is JonSnow constantly asking puCK and saying like, "Hey, do you want to play some practice games? I have an important match in WCS coming up." I don't think they actually ever ended up playing, but it was on Battle.net, it was in Twitter. I think there was probably some Skype messages. I thought that was entertaining.
I'm interested to see how this series goes. You know, one of the things that we don't talk about too much when we discuss American players, especially when they have to play against other Americans, is that some of the Americans don't really play NA. I mean, NA practice server, it's not a place where most of the players will want to practice because, I mean, for a variety of reasons, everyone knows the majority of the best players are either going to be in Korea or Europe.
Yes.
And that makes it not only guys like Neeb will either go there or only play on those servers. So if you want to get practice versus the best Americans like Neeb or Scarlet, they're never on America, so you're not going to run into them. And then also, you know, there's such a variety of pings, you know, it's not as much of a stable practice environment to play on the American server. So if you can play on another server, even with a little worse ping, you usually should, because you get those better opponents in just a stable game environment. And I think that actually helps players like Silky beat Neeb, because you get into those situations, you're like, you know what, nobody does this. And that's a huge advantage, especially since you're like, well, I'll play on NA, I hit print F every other game. You think cannon rushing me is what's going to give you a match, you know?
Silky hits print F, I'm pretty sure, a decent bit, because I've definitely seen some of those games. But
yeah, well, I know Silky plays a lot on that NA ladder, and I think that gives players like puCK an advantage as well. I know puCK plays a ton on the NA server, so weird builds are not really outside the scope of his vision in the best of 5.
JonSnow definitely capable of some weird builds, and he has had a lot of time on the North American server, but I would say these days I think that JonSnow is playing a lot more of either Europe or Korea, especially. And I know that one of the practice partners he had preparing for this match, not the joking practice partner of puCK who was actually playing, but he played a decent bit with Heartsem and a few other of the European players. So interested to see what JonSnow is going to be busting out, because I would actually say JonSnow, he's normally known as like one of the most consistent players in North America. He's sort of been going on the downhill trend a little bit lately, and I think this is an important match for him.
His status in NA has been as a gatekeeper of sorts, where JonSnow will beat everybody below him pretty consistently, but just cannot beat the top guys that are at that echelon above.
You might say he's looking for that crowning moment to try and
something of that sort for JonSnow. Yes. And puCK has an interesting history in WCS, because he was one of the only American players to regularly take series off of Koreans before the region lock in the 2013-2014 series. He had a couple of amazing matches against guys like Hyun, and if I recall, Hydra as well in those first days, but his consistency has been very shaky, so he's hit some of those peaks. He's made it into kind of deep into some of those brackets years ago, but could never get that stable foothold. But it's good to see him back making these good performances, and he's just, you know, still looking for that big breakout, and kind of finds himself, weirdly enough, in that same level of JonSnow, despite that having that history a little bit more.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite things about puCK is that the times that he is doing well is when he's enjoying the game the most. And lately, he has been loving the game. He's been streaming a ton, and just, you can tell that he's having a good time. And he has a very flashy playstyle, loves his micro with just small groups of units that are there for harassment. Oftentimes you can see him do some pretty good damage with things like an Oracle. He's already up to 2 drone kills, killed off some larva that was turning into drones. So this is already a really good start.
He'll look for those tiny things like getting the larva, and I think that it makes puCK a very fun player to watch, especially on his stream, because his micro with units like Warp Prism, expecting to see this Templar Archon drop coming from him. I do expect him to get a good bit of work done. This is his bread and butter.
Okay, well, the Warp Prism is now popping out and is actually making its way over here to this low ground. Is going to be warping in those Archons. The Oracle's still alive. Ooh, the Lings actually catch these Archons. This is actually really nice, just because you know the angle that the Archons are going to come in from. You actually
peeling off some of those shields before they even get into combat definitely helps too.
Yeah, and we also actually have that Phoenix trying to get some scouting information right now. He does spot that the Hydra Den is already completed. The Hydra's going to be popping out soon. How much damage will these Archons do? This is, again, what puCK is known for, just doing really, really well. Just small little groups of units doing a ton of damage with good micro.
Yeah, pulling the Archons back, grabbed an Overlord. Also delays the creep spread by pushing from the front rather than dropping inside of the base. Doesn't want to get grabbed by those Queens or any Hydralisks that might pop out. And his follow-up is going to be Immortals, Charge Lots, Psionic Storm. Very straightforward PvZ setup that we see here so far out of him. Gets one volley off on those Hydras, but not able to pick anything off just yet.
Hydra's looking for that Warp Prism, trying to deny the pickup. He gets it fairly low on hit points, but ends up not being able to snag it. JonSnow doing overall a decent job with the kind of defense later on, even though he took a bit of damage from that initial Oracle.
Yeah, that was a close, bit of a close call with that prison there. puCK playing with fire, and he's going to come over right as this base starts up, and these Archons put on serious pressure, forces a cancel. Watch out, those shields have not regenerated, pulls him back just in the nick of time. This is what we see. This is not super unusual for him, so let's be careful. There's only 2 Hydralisks here, but those Archons are very low on their shields.
Yeah, gotta be very careful. One of the Archons ends up falling. That's a massive deal. Those are 300 gas in a very early stage of the game. You really want to be able to keep those alive. Even the Warp Prism even taking 1 hit, it stops that shield regen for a little bit longer.
We kind of passed that point where you see those Archon drops being effective usually in the matchup, but puCK staying out a little bit longer than maybe he should have. You always need to keep in mind that if you lose too much, especially if you lose the Prism, a big counterattack from the Zerg can be devastating. But he's got Templar, he's got Storm ready. JonSnow's going to get Overlord speed in a Lurker Den. And the Lurker Den, of course, we know how much power that Siege has. We got to see it used to great effect in yesterday's matches. WCS Europe Challenger. Bly did a great job of picking apart some of Mana's expansions in their best of 5 using those Lurkers.
Oh my god, he's so close to actually killing off that Observer that just has a perfect eye on the army right now. Maybe JonSnow will actually go after that as soon as, he's going to actually end up finding it. But right then, we have 2 Adepts that are going to make their way over to the 3rd, try and pull JonSnow out of position. No, he actually ends up canceling the Shade and moves in from the south side.
Yeah, well, he was trying to pull the army over. I think maybe he should have let the Adept Shades finish because it looked like JonSnow was going to try to commit to that. But he does have a lot of High Templar, and I believe all of these bad boys have Sidestorm. There's feedbacks available for the Queen as well if he wants to do that, but this many Storms with Charge Zealot support, I think if he just kind of plays a little careful, don't let the Zealots get too far out and use those Storms, good God, he can kill so many of the Hydralisks.
Oh, the Hydras are getting really choked up by that hatchery, but a lot of the Zealots have used their charge, and now he's going to get on top of that drone line, so this is where the damage is going to start happening. Even the hatchery getting pretty low, and man, puCK is just obliterating this army of JonSnow.
Yeah, he made the Storm transition very quickly here with this, and I think the thing is, puCK got his 3rd base without any difficulty at all while he was doing that Archon drop. And sometimes we see that pressure come back, but he's formulated a great army. Shutting down the Zerg 4th is huge to be able to get on even economy. He is running a little bit low on those Storms, though. As the Hydras continue to pour out, he has to be careful.
Over eager right now. This is also going to be a place where JonSnow can concave a lot better. Now the Lurkers are out as well. He does have recall available, and he had the Observer before, but it got sniped off, and the Oracle's still alive. It's making its way across the map now.
Yeah, he needs to get a tag on those Lurkers. I think trying to force the issue here is extremely risky. A lot of these units low on energy. That Archon has no shields on it right now.
Yeah. This, yeah, I'm not sure how much I like this. I like the idea of trying to just scare your opponent a little bit longer, but he's continuing to warp in more units. It really looks like he wants to invest into this attack.
Yeah, I think puCK wants to go for a killing blow here. One of those Lurkers looks like, okay, no, he was able to tag all of them. So this is his chance. The Immortals maybe try to focus fire those down, bring the Zealots in, and he's going to bring the Oracle forward too. There's the Storms dropping on the Hydras on the top side. Oracle picked off as puCK pushes through the rest of the Zerg forces and seems to have gotten rid of all of the Lurkers, so that means these Zealots can just run through straight into the Hydras.
And that is going to be enough for him to kind of start to break JonSnow, who just has a lot of army supply, but it's actually now starting to just pop up, mostly in production. That gives poor puCK, or I should say awesome for puCK. He's going to have a lot of time to take out this natural, to take out as many of these bases as he wants. Even the Lurker Den is down here. That's
got it. GG. Game 1 goes to puCK in stellar fashion. Really just very formulaic. He does his Archon drop. He gets his 3rd up behind it, and he makes his transition while doing all that Warp Prism micro we were talking about very smoothly. Curious choice out of JonSnow to forego the Baneling Nest. He was just like, I'm just going to go Hydras into Lurkers. And I mean, if you can get some sort of early pressure on the Protoss, maybe you like cancel a 3rd or something with the big Ling Flood, but he didn't do anything like that. He's like, I'm just going to not build Banelings. And puCK's like, well, I'm going to make 30 Zealots, but get a bunch of Storm and just push you very quickly before you have Lurkers. And puCK hits this perfect timing before Lurkers, and because there's no Banelings, JonSnow has no way to clean up the army and get it off of him.
Yeah, really what we saw there was JonSnow kind of getting punished for that very quick tech up into Lurkers, where, he doesn't get up something like Banelings, because he's trying to save up that gas for the Lurkers and the Lurker Den, and of course getting up more Hydras. And of course, that is really going to be vulnerable to that big push right before the Lurker Den is actually finished up. He didn't have any Lurkers for that initial attack. You imagine if maybe that attack hits 15 seconds later or something, the Lurker Den's finished, you maybe have 1 or 2 Lurkers. That makes a world of difference in trying to help defend that 4th base location, but also that location was so rough. I want to, again, highlight, even though the Adepts didn't end up finishing their Shade over the 3rd, that did pull JonSnow's army just slightly further back. and allowed puCK to get into a position where JonSnow was going to be engaging between his hatchery and the cliffs faces. So that meant that storms were going to be landing on all the hydras. That meant that JonSnow was going to be guaranteed to be taking a really tough engagement there. If he gets through that point and catches puCK before he makes it through that little choke, that's where I think JonSnow maybe makes a defense there.
And puCK does a good job of pulling the Zealots back as well, because the Hydras don't want to engage. What they want to do is get 1 or 2 volleys off, draw the aggro of the Zealots, kill all of them, and then just dive on top of everything. I mean, Storm is still scary in that case, because I think puCK made that attack with like 6 High Templar, and I think all of that Storm, 2 of them had 2 Storms, and that is way more than enough to destroy almost an infinite number of Hydralisks.
Yeah, very, very scary moment there. But we get ready to move to game number 2. Of course, this is a best of 5, so still some opportunities here for JonSnow to pull this back. Or will puCK just show a bit of a reign of domination here?
puCK played extremely well in the group stages of WCS America Challenger just a week ago. Some stellar gameplay. Can this man stop him in the bottom right? The Red Zerg, he is Psystorm Gaming's JonSnow.
And spawning up here in the top left, we have our blue Protoss player from Root Gaming. It is puCK. Did you know he used to go by the alias for a short period of time, Iron Man?
puCK?
Yeah.
I don't believe that.
No. So this is actually a fun story with this. It was mostly on the latter. I think he still was known by puCK, but it was after one of the Red Bull events where he had. Do you remember there was a very strange
I know he
Red
had
Bull
the
event.
account Root Iron Man, but I don't think he ever played in a tournament as Iron Man. I don't think he ever
played in that tournament as Iron Man.
He didn't go full major.
No. He didn't change his name. It was just he had the account, and I said
puCK's played with a lot of aliases as well.
That's true. He does play under a lot of different weird aliases. Never a barcode. It's just like he plays under different weird names.
Yeah. I remember the first time that I played versus him when he was bullying me back in like 8 years ago now. I thought he was huck. I was like, wow, I'm like such a big fan. I'm like, sure, I'll let you continue to just take my ladder points. And he's like, good. Like, by the way, I'm not huck. I'm like, what? It's like, yeah, I'm puCK. It's like, no, everybody thought he was huck Smurf or something. that was the start of his career.
puCK is a glorious troll.
Yeah.
And I think my favorite part is that he does a good enough job that I can't tell sometimes when he's trolling still.
Yeah. He used to be a little more spicy in his BattleNet trolling back in the day. He had some enemies.
Yeah.
He wasn't always
he's pulled it back a little bit now.
Yeah.
Okay, well, after that first game, we saw, again, like a very standard kind of play from puCK with the Stargate into the Archon drop, and then following it up with just kind of a pressure with a very fast Storm attack. JonSnow, I feel like he used to be very consistent because he rounded out his play into having just kind of very standard-looking play all over the place. And I know one of the big things he's been trying to work on in 2018 is kind of adding a little bit more risk factor to his play, to add a little more edge. And maybe the really fast lurker play or something was along those lines where he's taking a little bit more of a risk, but didn't quite pan out in that last game. I wouldn't hate if he does something like that again, though, like another risk like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's still, the formula for PvZ is still very strong, right? You open with this Stargate play. I do wonder what JonSnow is going to go for in this map, if he'll be a little bit more cautious, a little more careful. I don't see any reason for puCK to really shake it up. Like, you've got your 1-0. Maybe if you want to try to be slightly more aggressive with some other part of your build, whatever. But in this particular situation, I don't think he has a whole lot of pressure on him to do anything other than just get the Oracle out, maybe 2 if he feels like it, make that quick transition into the Archon drop, go for the Storm, and maybe not do the same exact push if he, doesn't want to get played, but he could very easily wind up for a slightly different attack, or maybe take a second Prism into the back or something like that. Like, he can mix it up a little bit, but he's got nothing to worry about. JonSnow, his strategy, if he does the same thing, would be just as weak the second time around.
Yeah. All right, where do you see that Robo on the way as soon as that first Oracle actually completes? And we don't actually see a Phoenix following us up. There's the Phoenix. So he will be able to pick off all the Overlords and whatnot, especially since he opened up with the Adepts. I don't really have another good way to pick those off, but there's a Twilight as well. Looks like it's going to be pretty much the same follow-up as the last game, which is no surprise.
Comes in, grabs a few drones before the Spore Crawler finishes, and backs on out. Takes a little bit of damage on the Oracle itself, but there's the Robotics Facility, the Twilight Council, and we should be expecting to see that Warp Prism start up immediately. There it is. The Templar Archives will begin very quickly. Maybe he could do a DT variation, but he already knows that there's spores, so I don't think there's any real reason to do something like that.
Yeah, you know, I'm glad you actually bring that up, though, because it is a really funny thing. You see it maybe once in every, like, 50 games or, like, 60 games from a Protoss player where they do go for the DT variation. And even when there are spores, you'd be surprised. A lot of Zerg players, they might delay that lair tech sometimes, or you just get the DTs to go in on the spore, and you actually get a surprising amount of damage. You can kill the third a lot of the time.
Yeah, well, there are plenty of players that try to avoid that spore if they feel like they can get away with it.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that you can punish really hard. But that kind of comes back to our conversation yesterday where I'm like, there's really no reason not to ever get spores. They're not, they don't cost enough for you to ever have to think about whether you should get one.
All right, well, third base going to be coming down in the more forward location over here for puCK. Not a super unusual third to get, but it usually can be a little bit more dicey when it comes to the big attacks through the center of the map for a Zerg player.
Yeah, so there's the Archons on the way. Roach speed starts up. JonSnow is mixing it up a little bit. This will give him the opportunity to try and make a counterplay if he wants after dealing with the Archon drop. That is assuming he'll shut it down. We don't know that 100% yet. The weakness of the Roach in this scenario is trying to catch reinforcements.
I think he was trying to get stasis trap the Queens when they came over to help try and deal with the Archons, and he ends up losing the Oracle, and the stasis trap doesn't even go down. So really not an amazing start for the Archon drop over here for puCK.
Yeah, it would have been a good grab if he could delay that, because the Queens are really what you're worried about the most. Since these Roaches don't have a lot of range, the juggling mechanic of the Warp Prism is very easy to use. And look at that, puCK actually going for the safety Void Ray.
Yep.
He says, well, I don't know how many Roaches you're building, but if you decide that you want to keep building them, Void Rays are extremely powerful against them. So Void Ray Immortal, not your end game army comp, but very strong against Roaches in the mid game. However, this might be enough Roaches to knock that third down if he goes straight for it. Now that the Prism has to come home, he no longer needs units to defend back in his base.
That Prism might actually walk straight over all the Roaches, and you actually get the perfect scout to know that those rocks are being knocked down. And yep, that's exactly what's going to happen. This also might prompt the Adepts on the south side of the map to move into that third base.
Yep.
See if he can get some damage.
Perfect
There's only
timing.
a Queen.
The Queen is not even there.
Oh, the Void Rays, the safety Void Ray is going to be enough to actually force JonSnow back. The Adepts, they don't quite shade into the mineral line. I think they get maybe a little derped out by the Evolution Chamber wall in, but it ends up taking a lot of damage. It's actually just going to shade straight into the Roaches.
So just these Roaches. However, I mean, late game-wise, those Roaches are usually not what's going to bring you the game. So Lurker Den starts up, the transition begins, and JonSnow has managed to make it past that almost phase of the game-ish. Like, this is a lot of Roaches, but puCK can still go for a similar setup to what he had before.
I want to note really quickly that puCK did not remake the Oracle that he lost earlier on with the Archon drop. And that's if there are Lurkers that do manage to get up in time, that becomes a big problem for puCK.
He's also doing a different attack, too.
Yeah.
He heavily delayed the Storm, got several more Archons earlier, and with the Immortals is like, well, I can punch through this many Roaches pretty easily, but maybe being a little bit cautious now, because he's managed to get that third completely unabated once again. Like, he didn't lose anything for it. The Void Ray is the only real cost there, because that unit just doesn't generally keep up its value towards the end. Its Void Rays are very flimsy, as weird as that might sound.
Okay, Zealot run by moving along the far left-hand side of the map. Actually, funny enough, there are some Roaches that were trying to think about doing the same thing, and they are going to get caught here.
JonSnow's doing something really cool. We got 4 drop overlords on the way, so he's looking to
This is looking like Silky's game, actually, versus Neeb.
get some value out of those Roaches. I think JonSnow was probably watching that Silky game. He's like, you know what? I actually really like that.
They are teammates. I wouldn't doubt if they actually came up with some of those plans together, but I mean, I'm seeing the Zealots getting picked off on their make way over to the natural. And JonSnow getting closer and closer. That Lurker Den about to finish up as well, but there's a massive warp in the main base here for JonSnow. There's a couple of Roaches, but definitely not enough to actually defend this.
Yep, and puCK is just trying to pull him apart in several different directions. This will also give him vision, I believe, of the Lurker Den. I mean, he should already know that there's one there, so he's like, yep, okay, I see that. JonSnow actually started a second Lurker Den for a second and canceled it instantly, realizing they did not need that. But here's the big Roach drop. I believe it might just be all Roaches. Guess there could be a couple Hydras.
Yeah, there's a couple. There's actually a decent number of Hydras in here.
All right.
I think it's like half and half. But he's going to need enough over here on the front line to also help defend his fourth base at the same time. He may be able to force a recall.
I think he's going to get the recall out. Like, JonSnow looking to take that gold base because he knows the army's about to head home. He's like, yeah, as soon as he sees this drop, he's going to pull in. And then I think we're going to see JonSnow not only take the gold, but move the rest of these roaches over towards that fourth base. puCK needs to be extremely cautious in how he deals with this. There's the drop heading into the main as we speak. And puCK, he's got a hard call to make. How is he going to defend his expansion and deal with this big drop at the same time? There's the recall that JonSnow's been waiting for.
Yep. Is going to be able to pick off a lot of these units. JonSnow tries to lit up some of these overlords at the same time he charges into the front.
He leaves a lot of the forces back. He leaves all the High Templar at the fourth base.
Oh my God.
The crap out of these Hydras and
But
roaches.
it's just barely not enough. Look at all these roaches just sitting at barely any hit points, and he's actually going to be able to do it. GG.
Wow.
JonSnow with a two-prong attack forces the recall. I love the split up there from puCK, but literally one more storm, and I don't blame him for not knowing that this is going to be the case, but one more storm, I actually think he holds on to that fourth base.
Yeah, that's such a difficult situation in terms of knowing what to do and being able to get the rest of your army over there, because you know that JonSnow being on 4 bases, taking that gold 5th, and killing your 3rd, like, yeah, there's not really a whole lot that you're going to be able to do with that. He did have some units left over in his main base, but that was a significant drop that came in, and good call by JonSnow.
Yeah.
I think Protoss players on this map, you might be thinking about putting a pylon on the left side just in case. Anybody that's playing ladder today, be careful about some drops coming.
I mean, especially after we saw Silky do the same thing and actually have it be successful, or at least reasonably successful, versus Neeb. This is clearly being shown to be a really strong kind of timing.
Use the drop. Well, it's just like, how do Protoss players play the game right now?
Yeah.
You know, they rely so much on the recall mechanic that they're like, well, I can defend against anything. I can put my army across the map. Oh, you're attacking me? Just boop, emergency recall button. And then you're like, well, Zerg players, you know, they developed a second brain. They're like, wait, if the Protoss moves their whole army back into the one spot, I could just attack the front. And that's what happens. And there you go. Great play by JonSnow.
Okay, well, with game number 3, we're going to see how things tend to play out. I know that puCK is a player that typically in the past, it's less so these days, he's been known as a player that kind of has his build or his way of playing. That's sort of what he just likes to do. And I think he's less so like that, but do you feel like he's going to be able to adapt to figure out what he needs to do differently in this game?
For sure. He's gonna be thinking about this a little bit differently. There is definitely a good excuse now to take that Void Ray. In that situation, just for example, he builds the safety Void Ray, doesn't end up needing it once he pushes the roaches back. Put that Void Ray on patrol over there. Worst case scenario, it sees them earlier and doesn't kill any overlords. Best case scenario, you see them, you turn on prismatic alignment, you kill one of the overlords before they get there, and then you warp in around a charged zealots to catch everything as it comes out. And you don't have to bring your whole army back, you know.
Yeah.
There's a couple of different things that you can do, and maybe we'll just see puCK squeeze out an observer to watch for drops.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate something like that. And of course, it also was rough for puCK because he loses the Oracle early on in that game. And he doesn't get to keep tabs on JonSnow's army as much as he normally would have liked to. Maybe scouts the drop overlords in that situation. But here we go. We're spawning in to the top left-hand side of Dreamcatcher on top of the blue Protoss player from Root Gaming. It is puCK.
Facing off against the red Zerg player in the southeast. Playing for Sidestorm Gaming, he is JonSnow.
Yeah, JonSnow used to have the title Low Drone King because he used to be known as a very, very cheesy and cheeky Zerg. But like I said, kind of rounded out his play. I really wouldn't be surprised, though, to see him do something a little bit cheekier in one of these games. And Drone actually just ignores the natural entirely and just goes straight to the 3rd as soon as he sees that.
What if he goes to the Gold Fear Dragon?
Well, that'd be pretty cool, but this is not No Regret, so.
Shame. Take a page out of other NA player books, you know what I'm saying?
You know, I actually don't think that it would be beneath JonSnow to do something like that. But I think once the probe is here and it sees the drone leaving, if it just goes over to the 3rd and sees, oh, you didn't take that 3rd.
Oh, I like that. That drone went back to the spot. He's like, you know what? It's like, I could just build a hatch right now. But it's like, well, do you want to go double hatch before pull while the probe's right here and can see everything? Not to say that puCK would like insta-win because he knows about it, but it's a very risky thing to do, not having any units at the start of the game.
Yeah, I kind of feel like at the same time, if you go for the 3-hatch before pool or something, at this point in the game, I'm actually not 100% sure what the Protoss does to directly punch it. There used to be like 4-gate adepts and stuff that you could go for, but then nowadays you just kind of lose out on things like the Stargate opening if you don't go for that. You feel like you're not in as, I guess, diverse or I should say flexible of a position anymore.
Well, if there's one region that knows how to be aggressive against economic players, it would be NA, so
This is true.
I believe. However, we're not in that alternate reality where JonSnow built a 3rd hatchery before spawning pool, so it's all good.
I also feel like puCK I consider to be a pretty macro-oriented player. He'll mix in some like cheeses, but it's usually when he wants to.
No, puCK's not very cheesy, not these days. There's the Stargate, as expected. Expect to see him get 2 adepts as well, maybe more. And yeah, JonSnow just moving drones out. He's got the probe on patrol. He just wants to see if lings are coming out. He wants to know what's going on.
Yeah, also knowing how many lings is also kind of nice, because if you just see 2 lings or something like that, you're like, okay, that's fine. Sometimes you'll see like the crazy Zerg players, especially on NA, make 8 lings, and they're just like, I'm going to go after that pylon at your wall. And then you're kind of like, oh, okay, well, I guess I lose.
That's a bad feeling, Fear Dragon. That's a bad feeling indeed. The Adept is here, kills the Ling, and just gonna grab another one. On this open area, this is one nice side effect of the way that puCK opened, is by forcing that hatch earlier out there, he can kind of mess with this base more easily because there's not creep connecting the expansions. So he runs across with the Adept, he's like, all right, try to grab a drone here and there. But really the most cost-effective way to do this before speed is done especially is that you can just wait, let the shields regenerate, and just keep poking. And if you can distract JonSnow long enough, then maybe we get some purchase on that Oracle dealing damage.
Overall, a pretty good opening there for puCK with the Adept. He keeps it alive and manages to get a drone kill there or 2, and also kills off a few lings. So once again, puCK getting a nice start. We'll see how the Oracle ends up faring. I think that the Overlord taking a very long journey around the natural to try and get to the main base, get some scouting information. It's going to be a long time, and Phoenix should be able to catch it and pick it off pretty quickly.
Yep, there's the Twilight Council and the robotics facility, which means we are going to see that Archon drop most likely again. This Oracle comes in, gets 2 drones. Is it going to beat its record? No. Okay.
Right before the Spore Caller, the natural also finishes up there, or I should say the 3rd.
Careful, puCK. Your Oracle has no shields.
He's going to run it in, takes another hit from the Queen, takes 2 hits from the Queen.
Now that Oracle is very soft and squishy.
Yeah. Ooh, the Overlord moves in, sees, of course, everything over here. So for a moment, I thought this was actually 4 gateways. But yeah, it's the Twilight, and of course, there's going to be a couple extra gateways being added on. There's the Templar Archives.
JonSnow's mixing it up again, by the way. He has Roachhorn starting just now, but he's also going for this melee upgrade. So he wants to use Lings more on this map. This map has the 3rd is far enough away. Either 3rd is far enough away from the natural that Ling run bys are very annoying.
Oh, catches the probe turn. Oh, that's so cute.
Good pickup. Good save.
Keeping that probe alive. That's looking to go make that 3rd. Now the Adepts are here, so easily going to be able to push back those lings.
Give me that 3rd base. I want my money.
Oracle sticking around just in case there are a massive flood of lings coming across the map. And there's not quite a massive flood of lings just yet, but there will actually be with so many lings and roaches being made.
This is the 2nd time this has happened. This is a great catch. If you
Whoa.
kill that Archon before, Morphing. Oh my goodness.
That is massive, considering that JonSnow is looking to go for a big attack right now.
Yeah, he's got 7 roaches coming in too, so you're going to have a 1 Archon drop while lings are pressuring your 3rd. Ay, ay, ay. Not ideal. Let's not forget the Oracle also burned through its energy, so helping to defend against the lings, not so easy.
All right, Archon making its way forward. The 2 Queens are going to be enough to at least push this back for now. The Queens die pretty slowly to the Archons, but the Archon focus firing down some drones, not quite able to get too many at least not more than 1.
That's a huge pick-off. You know, puCK's been punished pretty badly for warping in his High Templar right outside of JonSnow's base, and credit to JonSnow doing a really good job of being aware of that prism, seeing that it saved the probe, and then it heads east. It's like, well, you don't have Archons in there yet, so you're probably going to warp them on the map. Let's go grab them. And I love it. I love it a lot. The Phoenix comes through for this scout again, and he's going to see that the lair is quite a bit later this game. Yeah. So it's mostly in the roaches. That tells me, though, if he's building these roaches, that we might see him try to get rid of them later with a cheeky drop.
Yeah, well, with so many roaches being made, I feel like you might just fire up roach speed and go for a massive attack on that 3rd base right now.
Also totally possible.
Like I said, he was used to be known as the low drone king. He's trying to get back to his roots lately. So, Spore or the Phoenix is going to come in here. I think the saturation on all these bases is okay though. The Phoenix is also going to end up getting picked off. Ore Prism makes its way back over to the main base.
He is really trying to get value out of that one Archon.
Yeah, he's finding some value, but +1 melee is done. +1 missile attack is going to be on the way, but here come the Roaches. Roach speed still being researched. Oh, he might catch puCK at a critical moment right before Storm is there, right before he has a lot of those gateways warping in units. He's got 7 warp gates, but he hasn't warped in the big round.
South. Is the Oracle going to see it? Okay, goes to place a stasis ward. I don't think that's going to be able to get anything. Just a few lings. Oh, now he knows, and there's the big Zealot warp in. 3 Immortals is good, but you've got Ravagers hitting Corrosive Bile on the pylons, trying to keep the reinforcements out, and as good as Charged Zealots are, these Storms need to be insane.
I mean, they're pretty damn good to start off things, Nate.
With the Storm.
He hits everything he could ever ask for, but he's pulling the ropes because he knows that this is a pretty committed attack here from JonSnow. He doesn't have Hydra Tech or anything else behind this.
He's got so many Zerglings coming in to reinforce this. I think the Immortals can handle the Roach Ravager. He's got 4 of them, including that Archon. It adds so much damage, but the Ling Flood that's coming after this is going to be so important for him to stop. Bringing back the Prism. I like this a lot.
Yep.
But he needs to get some target fire on those Immortals and watch out for the Bile.
Yeah, the Biles are starting to come down. He's dodging out of all of them with the Warp Prism, and I think he's done a good job here. He's been able to push JonSnow back.
Some phenomenal control, hopscotching the Immortals over to try and chase these units.
Okay, gonna end up losing a few of these Zealots. Oh man, he is getting really aggressive with those Immortals. He is gonna be able to snag another kill on those Ravagers, and the Ravagers are the hard units to replace here. Spire on the way here for JonSnow, but this feels a lot like a Desperation Spire.
Well, I mean, the strategy that he went for calls for a lot of Immortals and Zealots out of puCK. Now, puCK does have a few Archons, but we've seen this before. You have to be so cautious about getting caught off guard by that Muta switch. It's a little bit of a desperation tactic, as you pointed out, Fear Dragon, but after yesterday's match with the way that Bly was able to use him against Mana, I believe.
This might turn into a weird situation here. puCK is going to go in. He's probably going to be able to guarantee a cancel on this 4th base, but this also might pull him really far out of position. He's even warping in, so he's not going to have warp-ins available back at home. JonSnow...
Mutas are going to pop out. They're going to have to go around the army, I think, to get past this.
17
Archons?
Mutas, I think you can actually deal with those Archons. You can force a recall back.
He needs to evolve. He needs to be turning those guys into, I don't know if he has like really any Storms there. Not considered fantastic against Mutas because they're so fast, but...
Okay, the Mutas have been revealed now. Oh, maybe you go after the Warp Prism with the Archons.
You either kill the base and recall, or you try to fight this out. Use your Storms to get rid of the Mutalisks.
Okay, well, here we go.
He's gonna warp in Stalkers with his Prism, so he's committed. He wants to tango here.
3rd base went down there for puCK, so he is in full base trade mode. It looks like those units for JonSnow are actually starting to pull back, so he wants to engage with this army with the Mutas.
And we know how this goes, Fear Dragon. You keep those Mutas on the map, you build hatcheries on the opposite corners, and you go for that base race.
Oh, I love this response from puCK. He's just building some photon cannons, building, of course.
This is enough. The Mutas should just kill everything.
Actually,
there's the recall.
But, okay, there's still going to be a lot that'll go down here because the Archons are now going to be in a very choked up spot. There is some Storm coming down. So I guess he will be able to push things back.
JonSnow still actually only has his base. puCK very smartly goes for the Spire, but he left. Leaving those Zealots there was so important. Cutting out the production. There's no real mining happening for JonSnow. He's long distancing to that base.
Losing the Spire...
Killing that hatch, he actually doesn't have any money.
Yeah, losing the Spire does kind of suck, but he, like you said, he didn't really have the money to make anything else with the Spire for a little bit. Phoenix production is actually going to begin over here, and a Fleet Beacon. Okay, let me tell you something, though.
Play real slow. You take that 3rd back.
Fleet Beacons are very expensive, though, and remember that puCK is also mining out of his own main base. He's got a much better economy than JonSnow, but this is so many Mutas.
Bye-bye, Prism.
Oh, God. I'm actually not 100% sure I'm on board with the Fleet Beacon. I get the idea. You do kind of need it, but at the same time, that is 300 minerals or like 200 gas or something super extreme for a 2-base Protoss.
300 minerals, 200
yeah.
But I think if you're in puCK's position, what do you really need more than anything in the world to deal with the Mutas? What gives you that? Phoenix with range.
Yeah. I mean,
puCK's
this
micro
is
is good enough that if all he has to do is micro that, he should be fine. He's got the Archons sitting pretty in the main, and that Muta count or that Phoenix cannon, excuse me, is getting up. He actually lands a nice volley off the Archons. Does not lose a Phoenix through this yet.
He's going to be able to try and magic box these mutas and try and minimize the splash damage there, but still ends up losing a
lot of work done.
Yeah.
The interesting thing here is that puCK is trying to be so cautious with his money that you're right about the Fleet Beacon being expensive. He only does it off one Stargate. He's like, I don't need to get too many Phoenix because I know you're probably going to switch into something else. But as long as I have a handful of them with range, the mutas should just be wiped off the board. It shouldn't be a factor anymore.
Oh, by the way, a lot of these mutas are starting to go down. That's what I'm about to say. Yeah, JonSnow just kind of taking as many bases as possible right now.
That's the smart thing to do in this situation.
Yeah, because he has the map control. The Phoenixes are finally going to start pushing back those mutas, but JonSnow's already started investing into the Hydras. And of course, I think it's most Protoss players' brains would think, okay, you're taking a gold maybe or something. You guys got there.
I think if you're puCK, you can actually push across with, you can either retake this third, try to set it up a little bit, but he should be thinking about making a big ground push as soon as possible and just keeping the Phoenix at home to deal with the mutas, because his army can deal with the mutas, but the mutas are going to run around him. So use the Phoenix to defend and let your ground army kill, because you know that your army is enough to stop this. He has to be careful. If these Phoenix get cornered, then this game kind of starts to slip out of his hands.
Yeah, the mutas are the thing that maybe keeps puCK from moving out, but I think with enough of them picked off, I
think he has enough Phoenix. He can move out across the map and start and just attack. I think he has enough to just kill him. But
I think so, but I think for puCK also, he's not 100% sure how many units have actually been made. He hasn't gotten that much scouting information because the Phoenix are so busy picking off mutas. Now he's finally getting into the main base. He's seen a bit of that army. I think that's what kind of has prompted the move out, because before that, you're not sure. Are you just mass expanding? Are you just pumping out a bunch of units? Am I going to be walking into a death trap here?
Yeah, well, puCK's starting to move across now. I like this a lot. This is the move that makes sense. He has a huge army. The lurkers are not out yet. This right here is why I said, just, you can just keep the Phoenix at home, and this prevents the mutas from doing anything else. And now what's going to happen is you kill all of the mutalisks, and then you can bring the Phoenix over to help the fight, because lurkers should not be out before puCK attacks into JonSnow's army. And if they were, he now has the option to use the Phoenix to get lift-ups, etc. on that force.
All right, puCK is going around on creepy. Did he have an no? I think oh, he does have an observer. I was like, he's not.
He's got so many immortals and Psy Storms available.
Oh, this is desperation mode for JonSnow.
Zerg army. This is, as Maynard would say,
yeah, this is an unlikely hold here for JonSnow. He was hoping to hold on long enough for the lurkers, but the roaches and the hydras and the lings are just not going to be enough. GG, puCK takes the third game in a bit of a crazy and hectic situation.
Yeah, I mean, he made a good adjustment. Mutalisks like that have stolen a win from many Protoss players who are like, damn you, I killed everything, and you got those 17 dreaded Mutalisks out.
Did that happen earlier today to a really well-respected Protoss player?
Maybe
Neeb or something? Yeah.
Somebody who's considered the best in America.
But of course, I do feel like puCK is the player that you see in those weird situations, those weird scrappy games, you're like, well, how do I play it out from here? This is not standard. This is not typical. Nope. Those are the situations that puCK loves. He thrives in those situations a lot of the time.
Yeah, he is good in the scrappy situations. The decision making was great. I think your comment about the Fleet Beacon, if he gets a second Stargate, then I'm concerned. Then he really has no money at all, because you don't need to go double Phoenix if you can hold on with your army. He had Stalkers, he had Archons, and he had what he needed to not die to the mutas.
That's true.
But what he needed to move out was just enough to push them back. And I think just staying on the one Stargate, getting the Anion Pulse Crystals, and just shoving the mutas away was the perfect move. Yeah,
exactly. And I think the fact that I was uncertain about that kind of goes to show you that puCK has that really, really good reasoning. He knew exactly this very, very kind of scary situation where you invest in the Fleet Beacon, you just barely might not have enough if there is a big attack, but puCK knows perfectly exactly how many resources he can allocate to that, and it says, I can actually afford this to go for the Fleet Beacon and Anion Pulse Crystals, and I will still be able to survive, and I will have the tools I need to move forward. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be going to a short break. We'll see you guys in a bit with game number 4. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to WCS Challenger. We're getting ready to move into game number 4 in our current series. puCK versus JonSnow, our second match of the day for the round 8. And currently we have puCK leading up the series 2-1.
Yeah, playing really well. Good decision making on that Dreamcatcher game, and just a well-executed attack in the first map. Second game, JonSnow did a good play with the drops, but maybe these other maps won't favor it as much. We're going to Catalyst next, though.
Catalyst for game number 4. We're going to have to see how things end up playing out. JonSnow, in the first 2 games, seems like he really wanted to go for that fast lurker den. That second game, or that third game, clearly wanted to go for a lot of lings, a lot of those roaches, and go for that big attack. Showing a bit of diversity in his play, but I really want to see what is his plan in this game here.
Yes, what is he going to bring to the table? In the top left, our blue Protoss player. He is Root Gaming's puCK. Not to be confused with the scoring utility in hockey games.
All right, and spun down here in the bottom right, we have our red Zerg player from Storm Gaming. It is JonSnow. I really thought you were going to talk about
Not to be confused with the British actor who just got married.
Oh, did he? Congratulations to him.
So, PVZ, good times. This has been a good series, Fear Dragon.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying that because
That's been
I'm
a really
puCK's
good
biggest
weekend
fan.
of StarCraft so far.
Yeah. You know,
For Challenger, at least.
I think in Challenger, we went through the group stages. There were a lot of one-sided matches. I mean, we got to see some upsets that I think were cool. Like, we have Silky and Zeal in here. But now that we've gotten to the stage where we're hitting the bracket for Challenger, these players have really been upping the ante. We haven't been seeing as much of those sweeps. It's been very close series, very good games. And that's all we could possibly ask for. You know, we've got a couple crazy matches coming up. I think Scarlet Zeal is going to be the cheesiest cheese fest who's ever cheesed. You know, I imagine
you think so?
I imagine that there's some StarCraft fans out there that pay close attention and they have an idea. They watched Zeal's games. You know what? They went and they got themselves one of those big sets of like chips and queso. You know what I mean? And they're like, I am just ready. You know, maybe they got a little fondue on the side. And maybe they're gonna get a deli sandwich that's only cheese for lunch, because that's the vibe that I'm getting out of that series anyway. And you know what? I'll say the same thing about Masa True, because I think that series will also be hectic and crazy and full of lots of attacks and aggressive builds. So
that we can guarantee, because both Masa and True love being in their opponent's faces and kind of messing with them, forcing out mistakes, etc. This game, we do have, it looks like, nothing super crazy here from JonSnow. He's waiting until the lings actually come up before even trying to take that third base, if he's going to try and take the third base. puCK's probe is going to get chased back by the lings, and there is a potential here to go for some cheeky roach warren or something and do something a little bit crazy, but he's just leaving one drone in gas. It doesn't look like it's going to be the case.
I think that's a bit risky. In this situation, you got to be quite careful. You need to win 2 maps in a row to get out of this stage of the bracket. And both players with renewed vigor, because they know that neither of them has to play Neeb now. Silky played a great match against Neeb, don't get me wrong, but I think both of these players were like, you know what? If you told me there was a world where Silky beats Neeb, I'd be okay with that. I'd rather play Silky than Neeb, for sure. puCK's always been a PVZ player, and I think that JonSnow, you know, we talk about the players he has trouble beating, and I think Neeb would be someone that he would not want to run up against in WCS, but Silky should be very beatable for JonSnow. 2 adepts for puCK are going to come up over towards this base on the left side. Just that one queen poking away.
Ooh, Drone's doing a good job avoiding these adepts. They do not actually end up letting that shade finish, so they managed to get
Really nice
3 drone kills.
This is some cash money adept play, and the lings are here with speed, but the adepts I think have gotten more than you need. Losing one only hurts because you want to use those adepts to usually take the third base. You kind of wedge them in with the pylons, but it's not the end of the world for 3 drones. I like it. And now the Oracle is coming in.
Yep, Spore Callers are going to be finishing up that third base. Definitely a little bit on the later side. Now we end up seeing those lings trying to be annoying here. This is actually kind of nice because he's going to be able to maybe... Okay, he's not going to go after the adept. But the second adept here, that does become a little bit of a scary proposition.
Yeah, don't want to try and push through that. The Oracle can kind of... It's going to come over. There is a Spore, but the Oracle can... I was going to say, okay, he dives back for that drone. I was going to say, I'm trying to say, but things keep happening, Fear Dragon, is that he could just chill here on this base, and I do like this because He can get that drone, but also there's no Spore there, so he can bully it a little more.
This has been a really nice opening from puCK already, killing off as many drones as he has, not really losing the second Adept, and still keeping that Oracle alive, finding another drone kill. This is turning from an okay opening to like a stellar opening here from puCK.
6 drones picked off this early is really nice, and guess what? puCK is switching it up for the first time in this series because he's getting his Twilight Council, his Warp Prism, but he's adding quite a few gateways, and I'm wondering if we're going to see him. Okay, never mind. He's not. For some reason I was like,
it's because
is it gonna happen? Is he gonna get resonating glaives and just try to kill him? But
I mean, this is a lot of gateways to be adding on, though. He's going up to 5, which is typically, I feel like you usually end up getting your third before you throw down your 5th gateway, or sometimes even your 4th gateway. But going up to this could be a potential of something a little more aggressive.
At the very least, the Archon drop will be able to be supported by, I would say, supported by Zealots, but he's not getting charged yet either. He's not really prioritizing.
The Lings finding the Warp Prism once again, though, is so annoying. The Lings are going to guess wrong on which side they're actually getting warped in on.
High Templar could kill that Ling, though.
Oh.
High Templar have an attack, and it does no damage, but Lings have no health, so it actually works out. But
okay, Oracle just uses its energy, pushes back those Lings. The Archons get up without too many problems, and they're going to be able to push forward.
7 Roaches on the way. Hydralisk Den is coming in too.
Ooh, I like this. The Queen's going out to greet that Warp Prism and actually get some good volleys off already. Archon's not quite in the mineral line. I mean, you compare this to a lot of the other attacks, the Warp Prism's really far off. The Warp Prism's really far away right now.
Yeah, he doesn't want to chance it at all. As long as he saves the Archons, and he does. He's got to be careful.
Oh, he's going in for the Queen. Doesn't manage to get it.
Warp Prisms are so cool. My tear and tears. God, you can pick things up from so far away. It's so cool. I want shiny new toys.
Oracle gonna say, okay, you had a lot of queens over the front. Do you still have your queen in your main base? Yes, he does. He's gonna be very prepared for that. And ooh, Archons. Gotta be careful. That Warp Prism getting very low.
He's dancing. He's dancing with that Prism. He's got 5 more gates going up now. 10. He's gonna be on 3 bases with, was that 10 warp gates? Charge, Immortals.
Oh boy.
Of course, he can always add more Archons. He did not go for Storm yet, so
this is going to be a really scary mid-game attack. And JonSnow didn't exactly get up an insane number of drones behind all of this, so he's not exactly going to be on the most amazing economy, especially after that start earlier on where he lost those early 6 workers. I am a little bit concerned that if JonSnow is not going to see this coming, he's going to have a hard time holding off.
Yeah, and puCK might just be thinking, all right, I'll build up a big army because maybe you'll attack me. So I don't know 100% that puCK will push it, but I think he's up 2-1. He's got some good momentum at the start of this game.
Oh, JonSnow's looking to get aggressive, though.
Crank out the Immortals Archons and get going. Yeah.
Oh, this is actually going to get so weird because they're going to meet in the middle.
I think this still ends up being good for puCK because depending on where he gets caught, he can either hit those queens on the right side, but he's always going to have that recall, and this isn't like a scenario where there's a drop.
But he sees it now. As soon as you see the queens, you know you're about to be all in.
He's got the Prism back with the Archons. This Protoss army is ginormous.
I actually really don't know how JonSnow can make this work. He's going to need some really nice pickoffs here. With the Warp Prism, it's hard.
There is just so much here. And he's got the shield battery to retreat to back home, so all those units are going to get
JonSnow's just
topped off. Yeah, he's got to pull back. There's no way he kills him here. 10 drones are on the way. He's already punched in his time card. He's like, you know what?
Do you think puCK attacks then?
Maybe.
Because he's invested a lot into this army. He's clearly not getting up Size Storm, so in a way, his tech is also a little bit delayed.
I think he could take a 4th right now and start Size Storm, maybe if he really wanted to. But I also think that a lot of these units can't really get away that effectively. Getting these queens is huge.
Getting the queens, I think, is the biggest thing. And oh, some nice biles actually landing, picking off some zealots.
That's right. He's looking for a 4th, but you know what? There is no 4th. JonSnow is not building a 4th base, so I think puCK is probably looking for it. The Lurker Den's only just started. puCK doesn't have to do anything. 3 base Protoss versus 3 base Zerg. Just keep building units.
That's why I'm a little worried right now for puCK if he overstays his welcome. I know that people like to say recall, you can just get out of any situation, but you have to be very on point with the timing of that because you can still end up losing some of your Immortals or Archons because the recall takes some time to go off.
Yeah. JonSnow, though, this army from the Protoss is terrifying. And Zealot warping right in the nick of time. He had an Observer watching for the run-bys. He's got the shield battery to keep the Zealots alive against those Lings.
That's going to be pretty key. But the shield battery is out of energy, and the Lings are just barely not going to be able to win that fight.
Now puCK's going for Another poke here again. Having Storm would be the key to everything. But I mean, he's pretty much maxed out on Charge Lot Immortal Archon. Really just the only thing that's missing in this formula is a handful of Psy Storms. And he could attack, I think, before Lurkers are on the field, but the Lurker Den's about to pop. Storm is ready. I don't think he has energy on any of his Eye Templar.
No, they just got warped in pretty freshly, so they don't quite have energy. Oh, the Roaches could find these Eye Templar. There's one. There's almost two. He forces an Archon warp, but that also means it's going to be a little bit longer before he has energy for Storms.
That's really the only thing missing in this army, because otherwise this is a terrifying force.
Well, snags the Observer there with the Ravagers, and of course that Overseer to spot things out, but now we're seeing
here we go
drop
again.
overlords.
There we go. So he's going to try to force the recall from puCK.
This fourth base location
will actually help him.
Weird.
It'll help him spot it.
It'll help him spot it, but this also means that if JonSnow forces the recall immediately, he can pick up those units and maybe just go to this fourth base instead.
Well, I think that's what he wants to do.
Yeah.
He wants to make the same type of play that he made on Acid Plant, where he does the drop and then uses it to kill the fourth.
The Lurker is going to be able to get some good damage here, forcing puCK back. You can already see a lot of those units getting softened up. At the same time, a lot of Lings running around along on the right side, and a Warpin in the main base.
Right there. This is where the fun begins. Because puCK has the tag on the army. He doesn't have the tag on the Lurkers. The Lurkers could end up blindsiding him, but otherwise,
the main base.
Okay, that's unfortunate.
There's a cannon there. This is doing a lot of damage. At the same time, JonSnow also losing his main army in the center.
He's fighting without the Lurkers, or he just killed all of them. No, okay, they're on
the Lurkers were not quite there, and yeah, we end up seeing more Lings going to try and stream into that natural, but this time it looks like puCK actually has a wall in. He's losing some of the probes, but at the same time in the main base, we end up seeing Zell's doing an absurd amount of damage. Action happening everywhere.
Yep, this is exactly what puCK was looking for. The Lurkers repositioned to the right side. puCK's army is in a position to get the fourth base of JonSnow if he wants to. He has an Observer here, actually, and he's tagged the Lurkers, so the Immortal should just be able to right-click on him if he wants to.
Okay, and the Warp Prism gave Focus Fire down. It does end up going
down. It picks up an Immortal, too.
And now it looks like with some reinforcements coming in from the left-hand side, the Hydra coming forward, he's going to be able to kill off the remainder of this army.
There are still Zealots inside of the main base of JonSnow. His lair's going down.
That's going to be rough.
He cannot build more Hydralisks. He has the Lurker Den, but he cannot build... Oh, wait, no.
No, he lost the Lurker Den, too.
Okay, he can't build anything.
Build Roaches.
He can build Roach Ling. That's not going to do a whole lot against this.
The Lurkers finally clean up those Zealots, but really late. Now, JonSnow, I feel like you have to go for a counterattack or something, right?
At least he started another Hydralisk Den before it all went down, but...
Yeah.
I'm surprised he didn't get the fourth base. JonSnow got a fifth during this, too, so JonSnow still has the capacity to make that money. I guess you lose the income from the main, but puCK didn't lose anything on his fourth. puCK really didn't take any economic damage there. It was like, what, 3 probes, so...
Okay, well, he's built up at least a little bit of an army, but
and he has Storm.
He's kept the Lurkers alive, which is also valuable. He's keeping those in the main base right now. I think he's very concerned about another Warp Prism or something being made. So he's got some Hydras on patrol. It looks like for now, JonSnow's going to stay passive and rebuild that Lurker Den, but this is also going to give puCK a lot of time.
Yeah, puCK has Psy Storm now. He has enough High Templar that he can really play ball against this. Those Zealots wanted to do a run around. They will not be able to do so, but look at this. He has +2 attack. He's getting double Immortals, and more Photon Cannons to lock down his bases. JonSnow's run by Harass has definitely been a little bit annoying, but not too much so. He wants to bring his whole army out.
All right, this is where puCK's army gets super scary, but man, he is splitting up his army in a very odd way.
This is dangerous, yeah. I mean, when you're double pumping Immortals like this versus a Zerg that you've hurt this badly, there's big opportunity. Ooh, is that? He's got a Lurker in there. That's a big pickoff if the Phoenix can get that.
Well, the Hydra actually pops out, so you can chase after the Phoenix. And okay, there's Photon Cannons there. I don't think this is going to go well. There's also a big Zealot run by, but this is all getting caught, and the Overlord does.
The Overlord with the Lurker in it. That's a very, very expensive loss, considering that his Lurker Den is still just about to finish, so he hasn't been able to build any Lurkers for a long time.
Yeah, if there's going to be a big attack on this left-hand side, that's also going to mean just one less Lurker he has to worry about. But looks like puCK is going to knock down the rocks. He wants the fast reinforcement path in case something like a Warp Prism gets taken out. Speaking of which, where is that Warp Prism? Okay, it's making its way across the map now.
Yep, I think this is where puCK tries to punch it in one more time. He's not maxed, but the forces are split up. For both players, it's tricky. Looking for the Oracle Revelation.
Ooh, gets almost every single Lurker. There's still 2 more that are morphing in that didn't quite get tagged there.
It's still dangerous for puCK because he's not maxed out. That's what makes me nervous about this. He's got a good base count. I think the harass, maybe some of those zealots that are on the east side down the map.
Roach run by into the natural, though, is going to be very annoying to deal with. At the same time, some Roaches trying to move in behind that 4th base are going to find a nice position.
Cannons
If you hold positions, he can get... Okay,
yeah, I mean, he's managing a lot of different things right now at once, but the Immortal gets killed by those Roaches. That definitely hurts, because right now JonSnow's like, yes, come fight the Hydras. There's no lurkers hidden behind here, and he has to warp in more Zealots. 18 probes lost. puCK still has 50 workers. He's not out of it yet. He's going to get on top of this right base, and
That's
this is
a pretty
big.
deal. Yep, and he's going to force a lot of JonSnow's army out of position, and this is when he pounces on the rest of the army on that left-hand side of the map. Once again,
Sees the lurker. There's only one there. It's not burrowed
It's
either.
Revelation too, so even if it does burrow, when's that Revelation gonna wear off?
I'd like to see when you're pushing this base, send something to that southeast corner. I mean, there are some defenses there, but I'd like to see him try and.
Oh, he has to be so careful. If he moves too far in any one direction, he could just get sandwiched from every single side. JonSnow's starting to build up a bigger and bigger army, but this Archon force is massive.
Yeah, there's still a bunch of Ice Storms available here too. Important to keep in mind. As he lands a juicy one on those Hydralisks. And he's going to go for another Revelation. There we go. See, he splits the Archons to the bottom left. He's like, all right, now you have to attack off creep into me, or the Archons will just kill your base.
Yeah, there's no drones over there, so JonSnow's not going to be losing his actual mining, but like you said, he's going to end up losing that hatchery eventually, so he's got to do something, and now he's going to start moving forward. He is going to have a really nice concave moving into this, but now puCK is going to get to the bottom of the ramp, and no longer is it going to be concave. It's going to be going...
I mean, he could kill this base and then recall out if he wants.
Oh, he need to recall already if he wanted to do it. The high tempos at the front, he'd end up losing so many high tempos in the recall. Maybe?
Nah,
no.
He's good.
Okay. All right, well, puCK getting a really
There's no
nice
adaptive talons. There's no adaptive
true.
talons, so those lurkers, if they tried to come in from the right side...
Yeah, I realize that the lurkers are at the front, not the Roaches. If the Roaches are there, I think you can focus fire down like 2-3 high Templars.
The meat was on the north side. Like, he did a great job of trying to cut him off, but now you're still dealing with the fact that the Protoss has only his most powerful ground units that he can make in terms of these Archons.
Oh, that's a lot of
lurker count.
Oh.
If puCK sees that, come on.
If you see that, it's really dangerous, though, because you don't know how close they are to finishing, and if you try and move through that choke, that's scary. This is one way to do it, I guess. I don't know how he actually kills all of these lurkers unless JonSnow makes a huge mistake, like letting them all go into the range of the cannons and eating Psy Storms. Yeah, that's going to hurt him.
There's still so many lurkers.
All right, well, clearly no.
He doesn't have recall, by the way. That's on cooldown at the moment.
Yeah, it's going to be on cooldown for a lot longer, actually. So now all of these buildings are going to go down. Dark Shrine.
Yeah, okay, I was going to say, I'm like, this is what you need right now. You need a little bit of something.
There is an Overseer out on the map, but it's actually sitting over by one of those remaining mining bases. JonSnow's sending out that drone to start building some stuff around the map. Where are
God, that's so many lurkers.
Can puCK actually get out any probes?
He's got a lot of high Templar up here on this right side.
Stasis Trap coming down.
Opportunity.
And Stasis Trap is going to catch a couple of his units, but the Lurkers all burrowing in a nice spot, and we already have a couple of Lurkers burrowed in that main base. Oh, man, if they can get in on top of that
The Robo facility was shut down, but he has 4 observers, so detection is an option for him. Good Storms, cleaning up the units that aren't the Lurkers will give him an opportunity to pounce on them if they ever unsiege.
Oh, this is a dangerous spot. Those units are about to come out of Stasis Trap, and Oracles, one of the Oracles has a lot of energy for those Revelations.
Yeah, there's the
not that
Overseer, by the way. Getting rid. There's the feedback. Does he have warp gates? Can he get them? There's the Revelation.
Oh no! Wait, where did the lair go up? He doesn't have a lair anymore.
Oh, he killed it.
Okay.
Where's the DTs? Does he not have any? Oh, he doesn't have any gas.
Oh, that's brutal. And the Lurkers are also depowering a bunch of the pylons, so he's gonna run out of the gateways soon. Even if he does get gas eventually.
I mean, you know what? In this.
That's not something.
Thinking about where the drones are right now,
Pure Dragon.
Thinking about where the drones are right now, I'm almost liking the idea of him just trying to get the rest of the buildings because he doesn't really have anything hidden. I think he killed the drone that was in the top right now. So
there's one Ling working away at those probes.
Oh, that's the Ling. Okay, I think the drone was killed before that. But he doesn't have a lot of buildings. Maybe going for the building trade would have been. He's got an extractor in the top left, an extractor in the bottom left.
Yeah. I think you can maybe go for the buildings. There's still the hatchery in the main base as well.
The important thing about the army being here is that if he ever unsieges the Lurkers and tries to go get the other base, get the rest of the stuff in the main, or go home, then he can pounce on it. But there's not enough. There's really not a lot of buildings at all for JonSnow, and he only has 70 minerals.
Yeah, he has 27 workers, but almost all of them are in the main base right now.
Yep.
You know what I actually think I wouldn't hate is if he had at least 2 or so lurkers just sitting over in his main base, ready to defend those versus like any kind of counterattacks.
He has done a good job of baiting out these storms, by the way, onto the lurkers. So
Yeah,
he
the lurkers
comes
are
over.
starting to run hell. Lose a lot.
Yeah,
of
that's what I'm saying. I mean, good baiting by
Whoa.
puCK.
Oh, he's going for it.
Nice.
Immortals have some shields.
Right as Revelation wears off. Bad timing there.
Ooh.
Now he's trying to spread out the lurkers. Like, oh yes, the storm.
Oh, he's got a lot of drones over the left-hand side. This
The
actually-
observer sees this, by the way. Very important to note.
I think there was a Ling that also spotted out
puCK's
the Nexus
rebuilding.
coming down.
puCK is rebuilding in the northeast.
Yep.
Does he
saw
still have the
Nexus.
Dark Shrine? It's like, if I could just get some gas.
Yeah, he still
I can
has
end
it.
the game.
But he doesn't have. Doesn't he have any gateways that are? Oh yeah, there's still 2 gateways powered.
Well, I think the Dark Shrine's going to die before he gets 125 gas, so he doesn't even.
Oh
have
yeah, it's getting
assimilated.
focus fire done.
Yeah, it's a
Good
good
thing
thing
if he
to
focus fire down the
focus
throats.
fire.
Yeah.
Good thing to focus fire. Get rid of the Dark Shrine. His
Oh!
army's on the map. This is very risky. He does not have adaptive talents. Oh, careful! Don't lose the Archons.
Yep. And there's no revelation on these lurkers as of this moment. He still has those oracles alive.
There's a lair on the way. We're finally seeing another one of those things. Been a while.
Yeah, actually, you know, the funny thing is, JonSnow doesn't know if there have been DTs warped in yet.
That's
Technically, he's seen the
true.
Dark Shrine, and he doesn't
Well, I think
necessarily
he
know.
would know. If he had been able to build DTs, this game would have been over if he had enough money for 1 DT after he feedbacked that Overseer.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, the Zealot catch is huge here for JonSnow. Every single unit is so hard to replace for either one of these players. I mean, even if puCK is mining, it's barely mining.
Yeah, I think he's got to keep. He's got, I think, an observer in the top
Oh,
right with those. So.
Oh, gotta be so careful with those. Those oracles are a lifeline right now for puCK.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind him having sent something into his main to try and stop all of this from being.
I mean,
apart.
an oracle.
He won't be able
with
to
enough
build
energy.
any units if he loses all.
Ooh,
the pylons.
killing up a lot of these drones. There's only 16 left over, and he gets a revelation down the army. Of course, that does mean he has less energy to actually attack these drones with, but that is going to trigger him to maybe move out. Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, fake drop overlord, just denying some mining time. That's actually cute.
Yeah, that's adorable. He doesn't have any stalkers or anything, so he's like, well, I don't really have the range I need to kill you.
Even if you had a stalker, I think that overlord can just sit in the dead air space. All right, well, gateways have been depowered now, so puCK has to restart those as well if he wants to be able to get anything up. That other lurker looks like it made its way over to the natural. Just taking care of all the buildings is actually still a really big deal.
Yeah, that was. I mean, that's what I was thinking about. Like if he had tried to force the issue on getting the structures earlier, JonSnow did not really spread himself too far across the map outside of that random extractor, which the observer has already scouted. But man, that decision to just make a bajillion lurkers. We've got 4 immortals, 7 archons.
Ooh, lurker behind the mineral line gets 3 of the workers. That's a third of the economy right now for puCK. What?
Yeah, and puCK actually cannot build more probes.
Oh, that is juicy. That's so annoying. You know that he's just going to be sitting there, and he doesn't even need to unload it. Just needing to keep units is annoying.
If he catches him on the side.
Okay, he's going to be able to escape out of there alive, and JonSnow is going to have better mining than puCK in a very short period of time. With all of these drones transferring over, he's got 17 of them to start mining.
What a weird game.
This is a fantastic game. I love this.
Yeah, this one really went off the rails.
Okay.
I think that puCK could have been a little more forward in some of these maneuvers that he's been taking, but
It's so hard to make the decisions in the moment, though.
yeah.
When you have not entirely like full vision of everything going on. All right, one lurker gets picked off. That's a really
Every
nice
lurker
snag.
he kills is solid gold.
There's no lurker den anymore. There's still the Hydra den, so he can.
It's not an
throw them
overseer
down.
with the army, so he can spread
Ooh.
out and just attack into this if he wants to. Very risky, very dangerous, but if he uses
He's waiting for the storms. He's waiting for the High Templars. I think that this might be a little bit too much for JonSnow to deal with. He's losing quite a bit over here. JonSnow is, that is. And I think he just doesn't have the units.
Yeah.
GG, that's it.
puCK takes it 3-1. They're a nice solid 25-minute base trade of sorts.
Two-ish base trades. Like the third game was also kind of a base trade, but it just didn't go as off the rails.
Not as off the rails.
Yeah.
Good play by puCK. I mean, those situations are always very stressful. That moment when your opponent is building, what was it, like 9 lurkers, and he's already got a few, and that's his game plan. It's like, well, you know what? You have this composition that can deal with it, but I'm just going to go so maximum overkill because I don't think you're going to be able to get like carriers or anything to deal with 15, 16 lurkers.
Oh, man. And puCK just played that really, really well. The crazy games he ends up doing very, very well in as well at the same time. And he ends up moving on. He's going to face off versus Silky, another Psystorm Gaming Zerg player who, quite frankly, was already playing a little bit similar to how JonSnow was playing
puCK's
in this
gonna
series.
Have
some nice practice.
It's going to feel like a familiar matchup coming up in our first semifinal. Silky versus puCK. Interestingly enough, looking at the way that this has been set up, it's so cool. Neeb taken out, JonSnow taken out. Shaping up to be a very interesting bracket. The next two matchups, though, big name players. We got Scarlet going up against Zeal. Zeal's crazy.
He is absolutely insane. And of course, we're going to find out a little bit more about those two players in a little bit. Don't go anywhere. You're watching WCS Challenger America.